Hey everybody, how you doing? Welcome into Uncle Steve's Lounge on a Friday for Friday brunch. Well, Atlanta Falcons lose yesterday, 24-zip in preseason with the reserves. No worries, right? Right? Hey everybody, how you doing out there? Happy Friday. It's the last weekend in August, which means we should have legitimate football action here, especially professional, in 2 weeks. Start a little bit of college, get a little taste of college this weekend, but we get into our part of the season, folks. Welcome into Uncle Steve's Lounge. Thank you for joining me. This is your Uncle Steve. On your way in, if you don't mind, please hit the like button on if you're on YouTube and Uncle Steve's Lounge. If you're on Facebook, hit the like button on there as well. Appreciate everyone coming in. Thank you for joining us. I mean, what a beautiful day. Yes, it's still hot down here in Atlanta, in the Atlanta area, but yeah, I'm loving it. Rather this than stormy weather. I know it's supposed to, I think it's supposed to peak out near 100 tomorrow, I think, if I saw the right weather forecast. But I'd rather have it hot than ice cold, that's for sure. So welcome into the lounge where it's nice and comfortable in here. Sit up with your uncle, talk about some things. Let's talk about what happened yesterday. Man, oh man. So full disclosure, I did not attend yesterday's game, as I rarely attend a lot of the preseason games. My lovely wife, Kira, and I had an opportunity to see the beloved organization as they had a nice little event there. And my wife got to see John Legend, which was great for her. And good for me. I like John. John Legend is pretty good. So we enjoyed that. He was awesome. Just getting a chance to check him out live, maybe a preview to see him later on or something like that. But as we were going to the event, we saw a lot of Steelers fans, and I was telling her, this is pre the game starting. I was like, oh, these Steeler fans, they coming out for preseason. They die hard. They're going to come out because their team is usually rarely here. Little did I know, about 15 minutes in the game, it'd be 17-0. And as I was paying attention, but also looking on my phone, I was just noticing. I was like, wow. And of course, the buzz around was whether it was a big deal if the Falcons put their starters out there or put their reserves out there. I don't know. Obviously, I'm not a coach. But I want fans to think about this whole scenario. 2 weeks ago, when we played Miami with our reserves, everyone was losing their mind. Oh my goodness. Look at the Falcons. It's the new style. This is going to be great. This is what we're going to do this year. And I said to myself also, don't get me wrong, it was nice to see the defense do some things and see what the strategies were going to be for the defense. But It was the reserves. And boy, if we live right next to Vegas, I bet you quite a bit of fans who leaped without looking would have put their house payment on the Falcons going to the Super Bowl based on how we looked against Miami. And everybody was like, nah, it doesn't matter, preseason or not. It's the Falcons. This is how they're looking. This is what the reserves are doing. Have faith in your team. Oh, don't be pessimistic. I said, okay, I'll play along. Then Cincinnati last week came back and got a tie. Again, saw a little sprinkling of the starters. Scored 0 points. I think total, was it 10-plus play drive? And yesterday, Arthur Smith says, you know what? I have so much faith in my second-year quarterback who's had the 4 games that everyone loves to bring up. I trust him so much that I'm not going to give him another snap in preseason. Let's check out what the depth's looking like. So all of a sudden now, the narrative becomes when you get boat rushed 24-0 before 10 minutes left in the half, the narrative turns to, don't worry about that. It's preseason. Those are the second stringers. Of course they're not going to look good against the first string. But I was thinking about what they were saying about Miami. And let me make sure that no one is on a different page than me. I want this team to win and have the, learn how to win. You got to learn how to win too. And that starts in preseason. For there to be the lack of not effort, but just not fight enough to score a point. And also for Pittsburgh to just run down the field and score on the first 4 possessions. Folks, Mitch Trubisky scored on us. And the narrative becomes, don't worry about it. It's a second string. Coach Smith knows what he's doing. And my answer to that is, okay. Which is why you always hear me say, let's wait and see. Even after the first game, as excited as I was about how the defense was looking, last week against Cincinnati, some of the plays being made, it doesn't mean anything to that first game. And while the reps are good and being able to find out our depth, and I can't wait to see what the depth chart looks like for this team, see what the cuts are made. I think the mandatory cut is Tuesday. But I can't help but to notice the difference between enthusiasm for the first game with non-starters to the lack of care in the blowout by non-starters. Everyone is entitled to their opinion. I'm not here to tell you what to think. Really not. But I have to ask you. And the question is, and I want y'all to answer me, 24-0 loss yesterday in the preseason with the reserves. Is it a big deal or is it uh-oh? Big deal or uh-oh? That's my questions today. That's it. Because I gotta be real with you. It's a little concerning to get run down that quickly. I mean, you turn around and by the time I looked at the update on my phone, it's 24-0. And I'm saying to myself, I can't look at that. I mean, our internet wasn't working quite good at the World Congress Center, but that's another story. But I saw the updates and I was like, 24-0, what is going on? Now, thank goodness it's not the starters, but at the same time, the same fight that everybody was lauding the Falcons for in game one, what happened to that? So I just want to know how everyone else feels. So let's run it down now. It's Friday brunch again. Thank you all for coming in. As you're coming in, please, if you're on YouTube, like the video. We appreciate that. If you're on Facebook in the Atlanta Bird Gang, thank you so much for joining me. If you have a YouTube account, switch over there right quick. Hit the YouTube video. Get the likes up there so we can get this stuff out into the atmosphere and talk to everybody about it. Let's get into the chat, y'all. Let's see who's in the lounge today. John Brooks is in the lounge. What's going on, brother? Say, it is concerning. We got to hand it to us. And Arthur Smith, in his interview, acted like it didn't matter. And then even Arthur Blank said in the booth, this ain't good. Well, again, Arthur Smith has probably going to understand that it'll matter if game 1, 2, 3, 4 don't turn out like you want it to. Now, Falcons start off 2-0. Nobody's going to care. We'll forget all about these preseason games. If we start off slow, people are going to come back and point to some of this stuff. That's why I'm interested to see what y'all think. Cousin James is in the lounge. What's going on, sir? Thank you for joining us here. David Starks is here. Appreciate you, brother. Lisa Shepard is here. Hey, Steve, checking in, waiting for September 10th. Absolutely. First game against Carolina. Speaking of cold weather, my brother 95 North Falcons talk said, what is going on? Checking in. Y'all make sure y'all give him a check into his talk show. He and my brother Antoine Smitty Smith have been putting it down with a lot of content lately, and I'm sure they had a lot to talk about with this particular game. Atlanta Bird Gang is in the house. My brother Tidy is here. Hope you all got a chance to check them out on Bleacher Report. They did a great job summarizing the game the last 3 days, and just awesome to see part of the family extending out there nationally to show everyone what the Atlanta Falcons fan base is all about. Thank you, Tidy. Appreciate you, brother. Thank you for joining us. My brother Herb is in the house. What's going on, sir? Thank you for joining us in the lounge. JJ Ayers is here. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Bass is here. What's going on, sir? False Start is in the house as usual. David Stark says, why are we not playing starters? What has the coaching staff seen that they feel that the starters don't need reps? 2 7-10 seasons doesn't say to me that the starters don't need reps. I must admit, it's going to be the question of the day. And if we fast forward 2.5 months from now and the Falcons are on top in the NFC South and doing their things, it's a non-story. But as David said, for a team that's coming off 2 7-10 seasons in the Arthur Smith regime, 5 losing seasons in a row, it's not crazy to question why you aren't seeing these guys on the field. Yes, we saw the flashes of Bijan. Yes, we saw the nice catch from Kyle. But I don't know. I guess my only explanation is maybe, just maybe Coach Smith feels what he's seen in practice, what he's seen in scrimmages is enough to say he's ready to go. And I know in the back of everyone's head, you're thinking about injuries and stuff like that. I don't blame you for feeling that way. But from a fan's perspective, and that's what we go by here, I'm not in the locker room. I'm not on the field. I'm not hearing whispers from people in the organization. We're concerned. As a stakeholder in this team, there is a concern to say, are you sure? And we'll only find out after the season plays out. It's fair. It's fair to be judged. Winston said, what's going on, Unc? Hit that chat. Hit the like button. Appreciate you, Winston. Mark is in the lounge. What's going on, Mark? Part of the Atlanta Bird Gang duo that did the great work on Bleacher Report. Thank you, sir. My buddy Island Mike is in the house. What's going on? Say, well, Blank was pissed off. That tells me a lot. Also, let's get Lance. He will be cheap. It's going to be interesting to see where Trey Lance lands at this. John Lynch comes out and says he, at the moment, doesn't have any plans, but obviously he's waiting for a big, something. If somebody offers him something he can't refuse, trust me, Trey Lance will be on the move. It will be interesting to see what happens. And for the Falcons, to be honest with you, I mean, if you were to bring Trey Lance in, which I'm against at this part of the season, you're either going to do one or two things. You're either going to waste the money that you spent on Tyler Heineke. And, I mean, do you really want to bring somebody in who hasn't learned the playbook? Listen, Logan Woodside is not giving me any Brett Favre vibes or anything like that. But it does give me a little bit of comfort to know that he knows the playbook and he kind of knows what Arthur Smith knows. I'm not sure you would bring Trey Lance in at this moment and do anything. Now, if somebody gets hurt, that's, Facebook user says, well, Blank was pissed. That speaks volumes, and I want a flyer on Lance. 49ers say he will be cheap. There's another Lance fan. Norman is in the lounge. What's going on, Norman? What's up? Chuck, how you doing, Chuck? Chuck says, do you think it's because our threes were going to play against their ones? I'm kind of concerned that we couldn't do anything. Yeah, I'll hear that argument, but I also say, Chuck, football players are football players. There comes a time when pride kicks in. It's easy to say we were playing their first team, but the first team left after the first two drives, and you still let the second team come in there and score 10 points. And their second and third team shut down your backups for the rest of the game. So I hear you, but there are different perspectives where you might say, but let's look at it this way. But I do hear what you're saying. I tend to think differently. Bag says, biggest difference was Pittsburgh had their starters on both sides basically playing the entire first quarter. No big deal. It is a big deal. It's a big deal because they left in the first quarter. And after that, well, they didn't lead the whole first quarter. By the end of the second quarter, Trubisky was in there with parts of the second team. And the little running back that was running all over us is not going to see any time, major time, with Najee Harris out there. So it does make a difference. And again, was it no big deal when we beat up Miami and all of us were patting ourselves on the back? I'm included. When we were stifling Miami, it was like, uh-oh, it's the new look Falcons with the second string. I don't care if their starters were out there or not. You got to show some fight. What was that first drive, like 6 plays? I mean, I hear you, but you got to want better. Second string or not. You have a Falcon uniform on, you should be embarrassed from yesterday. Again, all this gets erased in the first season. Not trying to rain on anybody's parade. I still have optimism for this team. Everything that I say still stands. I think this team has enough to win the division. None of that has changed. But I am saying, man, it would have been nice to see the starters in there going against their starters just to get a look to see what's going on. I mean, are we saying that Carolina is not a threat and that we can just wait? Do we think Green Bay is that much of a pushover in week 2? Excuse me. I don't know. John Harris is in the lounge. What's going on, brother? Say, if you're embarrassed, there's concern. They scored. If you're embarrassed, there is concern. I'm sure you bet if you're not embarrassed. They scored 17 points in the first quarter. That's true. Ricky Gaines is in here saying, Uncle Steve, I don't understand why we didn't start the starters. Kenny Pickett and the Steelers have more time. Ricky, if I knew that answer, brother, I'll probably be I have no idea. That's crazy to me. Winston's uh-oh, which he says uh-oh instead of no big deal. There was no life on either side of the ball till Woodside came in. It's been a while since this team has looked so listless. And maybe that's it. Maybe that's the first time we've seen them look kind of weird. But hey, I want to know how you feel. It doesn't matter. If you feel like this is all a non-deal and say, oh man, why your blood pressure up, bro? Relax. Game 1 will be fine. We'll beat Carolina by 3 touchdowns. No problem. That's fine. Let me know how you feel. I want to hear it. False Star says not going to panic, but last night was terrible. I don't think panic is in my vocabulary, but it is concern is in my vocabulary because that didn't look good. That did not look good. DSGB Hall, what is going on? Say, I think it does not matter because you still have to sit for 2 more weeks. Okay, I hear you. I'm not all the way there, but I hear you. And again, there is no wrong answer, folks. You know why it's no wrong answer? Because the season hasn't started yet. A month from now or 6 weeks from now, we could be 4-0. And nobody will think about the first quarter against Pittsburgh in a preseason game. So it's fair. David says, kind of concerning. Shouldn't have been that bad. Not because our 2s versus their 1s. Some of the coaching decisions had me kind of shaking my head too. And I always think about that. Last week, I was kind of defending Arthur Smith in a certain way because you're not going to come out there in games 1, 2, or 3 and show your game plan for game 1 against the Panthers. So for the most part, which I do like from the Falcons, they showed a lot of man. I do like that, even if they're getting burnt, but at least give them an opportunity to go out there and show what they have, not in some schemey zone or something like that. But it would have been nice to see Ritter. It would have been nice to see Bijan get a couple more carries, get hit a little bit. I don't know. Maybe that's just me. TJ is in the house, Tony Jackson says, hey, if the coach says they're good to go, then I'm going to believe in the coach. There is a huge tongue-in-cheek, I think, in that particular statement. But y'all make sure y'all like the video, please, as you're coming in on YouTube, on Facebook. If you do, please push the thumbs up there in Facebook as well. We appreciate you. DeMarcus make a change. What is going on? So, hey, Uncle Steve, I hate to keep missing you, but we still need you in the Dirty Bird nest. Trust me, I am I'm 2 sections over from the Dirty Bird nest, and I think I do a pretty decent job of holding it down where we are. But I am not too far from you. I'm down there in the lower bowl as well, so we're holding it down. Ricky says, we should have played the starters. Kenny Pickett and the Steelers had more live reps last season, and he still played all games. We literally let our depth get skull dragged last night. And remember, they made a decision on Pickett at a pretty early time. So, if Coach Tomlin said, hey, so what? You're still a second-year quarterback. We need to see you out here. I wonder, does anybody remember? I know it's a different regime, different general manager, different whatever. After the first season Matt Ryan had, and I know he had a really good season, but he was still very green that first year as well. How much preseason did he play that next year? Do y'all remember? I don't remember. That's a good question. Ricky says the Benz sounded like Heinz Field. And I kind of figured it would. But Ricky, in fairness, I do think because one, it's a preseason game. 2, Pittsburgh isn't going to be here. When the next time we play the AFC North, because we just played them last year. So they're not going to be back here until the next rotation, which it won't be. Let's say last year was 22. They'll be back. We'll be playing them up there in 25. So they won't be here until 2028. So if you wanted to get a sneak peek at your Steelers, Atlanta fans weren't probably rushing to see the third preseason game here. So that's that. Now, if we don't show up and it's more Carolina people on week 1, then I'll be more concerned about that. Let them have their party. Mark says, definitely concerned that our starters won't be prepared for the opener. We didn't see enough. I agree. I would have loved to see them a little bit more, Mark. Just a little bit more. Antonio's in the lounge. What's up, man? So I'm sorry we could have seen the starters for a quarter. Marina's in the lounge. What's going on? Watching us get beat like that was more depressing than my first divorce. And I'm not laughing at your divorce. I'm laughing at the thing. Wow. Well, I hope you have bounced back. So oh my goodness. D. Sloan is in the lounge. It all boiled down to keeping the starters and rotational players as healthy as they possibly can. And the depth got put to the test to see what they can do. Let's not panic too soon. And again, I keep seeing panic. It's not panic. It's concern. And it's a different. Panic means, oh my God, sell the season tickets. Falcons are done. It's gloom and doom. Nobody's saying that. I am saying Desmond Ridder is a second-year starter with rookie experience because he hasn't gone through a full year. Bijan Robinson is a rookie starter. Kyle Pitts is coming off what turned out to be some major surgery. Desmond Ridder needs to get chemistry with the Matt Hollises of the world and the Jonnu Smiths of the world. It's not a matter of questioning ability at this point. It's about cohesion, just being able to be together with your teammates. The first moment, trust me, the first moment y'all see it in game 1, y'all gonna be trying to rush to your keyboard. I told y'all he should have played them, and we know it. But it's no panic, D. It's concern. And the way to get the concern out, start winning. Oh, boy. Swavy Crockett. Okay, I see what you're doing there. Says, thank you for joining the lounge. Says, since it wasn't our starters, we still have a sliver of hope. But yikes, that was embarrassing. It's probably where I am. That's a pretty good statement. I mean, and I'll even take it more than a sliver of hope. I still think we have in the NFC South, this is a roster that should be very competitive. All the prognosticators, because of Derek Carr, and I understand it because he's the most seasoned quarterback, a lot of them have hitched their wagon to New Orleans, mainly because a lot of them still don't even know Drew Brees is gone. But that's not here or there. A lot of them have hitched their wagons to Derek Carr. Okay. So I have more than hope. I think this is going to be a very competitive division. But I got a little bit more than a sliver. The MD20, what is going on, says, remember, we all touted how impressed we are with the depth Terry Fontenot went out and got. And during the offseason, that depth didn't look good yesterday. MD, how am I going to disagree with you? Matter of fact, I'll even forget this summer. Again, 2 games ago against Miami. Everybody was like, oh my goodness, look at the depth. We're going to rule. Falcons are going to kill them. I don't know. Mills is in the lounge. What's going on, Mills? Says, this is football. Injuries going to happen. Could happen in preseason or could happen in the first game of the season. Who knows? Starters should have played a couple of series after all the penalties last week. And yeah, and I brought up the starter comment just to say, listen, I understand that point too. For every point everyone makes, Mills, I can build a counterpoint. You're absolutely right. Injuries can happen. But the moment you throw Bijan out there in preseason and he twists the ankle, the first thing they're going to say, oh, why y'all playing him so much? You knew he was going to be an integral part of your team. But I do understand what you're talking about. Berto says, Mike Tomlin said it best. It's difficult to box without sparring. I saw that comment. I feel it's inexcusable to not start the starters. This is how you build a winning attitude. That's why Mike Tomlin has been in this game a long time, man. That type of mentality that permeates throughout his team, by the way, whether it's first, second, or third string. And let's not, I keep hearing people go to they played their starters. Folks, their starters were off the field in the middle of the first quarter. They scored 2 touchdowns right quick. I saw the highlights. Yes, Kenny Pickett came off the field, and Mike Tomlin shook his hand like, that's all I need, bro. Bubble wrap until season. Good to go. That's all I needed. I don't know. He's taking as much of a chance as we would have taken. Tony Jackson says Falcons were 9-27 on third down this preseason. That's concerning. And I would say you probably did better on third down in that one drive than you did the rest of the preseason. Because Miami, the offense wasn't exactly a juggernaut. Not talking about the backups. The defense and special teams, remember, scored those 2 touchdowns. Ricky says, what's more concerning is that we only score 2 offensive this preseason. I didn't even see that comment coming, but yes, you're right. Antonio says, me personally, I think the Falcons wanted Trey Lance before San Francisco made the trade. Possibly. Might have been in return, might have been a good idea that we didn't, because that would have been a lot to pay for what he's turned out. And I know he's been hurt, but I think if he was what he thought they were going to be, Trey Lance would not be the third string on the team this year. Jonta into the lounge, thank you. Say we were out coached. How am I going to disagree with that when you get beat 24-0? You can't. Good call. David says, does this say something about our readiness to compete with elite organizations? Serious question. It's a fair statement because Pittsburgh, with the streak of winning seasons, you got to consider them as one of the elite organizations, and maybe the way they prep is a lifestyle for them, and which is why they are always in the hunt, why their team is always there. Fair question. Terrence, thank you for joining the lounge. Say, what's up, Unc? I'm tired of them doing things that make you scratch your head. 6-2, first 8 games. I got us finishing 12-5 or 11-6. I appreciate you being a realist. Hope Desmondites is the answer. Hope Desmond is the answer, but I don't know. Well, and thank you. Matter of fact, Terrence, next Sunday, we're going to do Uncle Steve receipts. Next Sunday, holiday weekend. Why y'all grilling on Sunday, watching a little bit of college football? I know there's some college ball coming on even Sunday next week. We're going to do our receipts where I'm going to be on and I'm going to bring folks on and we're going to get your picks on record. That means whether in the chat, on video, next Sunday, Labor Day weekend, Uncle Steve's Lounge will have their receipt show where everyone will give their predictions. I see you've already given yours, so join us again next week. Ray is in the lounge. What's going on, Ray? Good to see you, brother. Bag says, my only concern was with the defense not being able to get off the field on third down, just like last year. Fair. Nando is here. What's going on, Nando? Say, Unc, I'm not going to lie. We will need 2 turnovers to beat the Panthers. We will need them to be great. We will need them to be great to beat teams. I don't feel good. We will finish 8-9 this season. Wow. I mean, that's fair. If you feels that way, that's fair. But from what you've seen, and again, not to say one particular play is going to extrapolate out to the rest of the season. But Nando is only going by what he's seen so far. Now, again, they could come out game one, totally different program, different sets, different formations, and boat rush the Panthers out of here. I don't know. But he hasn't seen it, and neither have we. The offense has not been the greatest in the preseason. TJ says, so it will be 3 weeks before we see the starters again. 2 weeks and 3 days. 2 weeks and 2 days. But that's still a long time, and I get your point. Mike said, I'm talking about Lance because Terry wanted Lance. Very interesting. Oh, yeah. I still, to this day, though I don't have any inside information on this, I still, to this day, think Arthur Smith wanted Kyle Pitts and Terry Fontenot wanted to get his quarterback of the future, whether that had been Lance or whether that had been Justin Fields. I don't know. I have no inside information, but there is just something telling me the way, if you go back and watch that Desmond Ridder draft call when he was on the call crying, joy, I'm sure. Coach, you should have got me early. That video, and you watch Terry Fontenot's reaction after he got him, he acted like he got the #1 overall pick in the draft. And I'm not saying that to make fun of him. I'm saying he got a quarterback that he thought would be okay. I don't think in his heart of hearts that was the guy he wanted, or this was the time he wanted to get him. I tell everybody, think about had we drafted where we couldn't have drafted Lance because Frisco jumped us. But if we've gotten Justin Fields ahead of time and where he would be now, which Chicago's offense wasn't made for him. And again, I don't want to play because I know some of y'all, Justin Fields not on the team. So what? But I'm talking about the way I think when you come into an organization for the first time and you're saying, let's clean house. Your first thought is, what is my quarterback situation? And I think Arthur Smith might have been like, you know what? Let's squeeze every bit we got out of Matt. So let me get the best tight end in college coming out. And Kyle Pitts paid dividends his rookie year. Let's not pretend like he hasn't. But in retrospect, you don't use positions like that on folks, on tight ends. Use that for quarterbacks, elite receivers, or a out-of-this-world defensive player. I saw Will Anderson the other day, even though the Texans are going to be horrible this year, but goodness gracious, he looks good. Belinda Marshall, thank you, and welcome into Uncle Steve's Lounge. Said, I'm more concerned about the coaching decisions than preseason. Fair point. Absolute fair point. Belinda, you are in a long line of folks that are worried about that. JJ says, we got the brakes, rotors, master cylinder, and tires beat off of us. But come on, 9 or 10, we're taking it out on the lead. I'm September 10th. Got it. September 10th, we're taking it out on the lead. I hope so. Come on, JJ. You know I hope so. Swayze Crockett says, if Arthur's on his way out, who is your dream coach? Probably the one that just left the dome yesterday. You have to be impressed with what Mike Tomlin does year in and year out, even if he's not making the Super Bowl, if you're in the conversation. And I think that's where we got spoiled from 2008 to 2012, and then again in 16, 17. Being in the conversation is much better than on the outside looking in. Talking about draft positions in the last week 16 and 17. Talking about, if we lose this game, we'll get a top 10 pick, which is the most frustrating conversation as a football fan. Celebrating being number 8 in the. Yeah. But Tomlin would be my pick. Jay Figgy in the house. What's going on? Thank you and welcome into the lounge. Hey, Uncle Steve. Love your content. You and Smitty keep me sane during the losses over the years. I really hope that Smith used Pitts a lot more this year and we don't have to solely rely on the run. Thank you first for the compliment, and I'm sure my brother Smitty thanks you as well. Yeah, I mean, if there's one thing that I do feel good about is the folks that we have that are going to hopefully carry us. And I even think more than Desmond, the Kyle Pitts, the Jonnu Smiths, the Bijan Robinsons, the Matt Collises. Those folks are the Tyler Algiers. I don't want to ever forget about what Tyler is going to bring to this team. Those are the folks that's going to help Desmond and help this team to what I still think is going to be an NFC South division. I really do. I think it's going to be a little mix of it, Jay Figgy. Belinda says, I don't think we should have played the starters. That's fair. And again, like I said, there's two different types of opinions about that. I think, Melinda, what most people are thinking is with this being a brand new year and these being teammates for the most part, aside of Drake and aside of Tyler, that you haven't really had an opportunity to work with as far as the first team is concerned, that you just want to get that type of those type of reps against another team. While practice might show you a lot, the scrimmage you did with Miami might show you a lot, it would just be nice to see that against other teams. This is my opinion. Appreciate y'all joining me in here. Make sure y'all push the like button again if you're on YouTube. Thank you for joining me in Uncle Steve's Lounge. This is the Friday brunch. On Fridays, what we'll do during the season, this will be the pick session. I usually pick the games on Friday going into the weekend. So y'all make sure y'all join me every Friday. Set your timers for 1 p.m. every Friday prior to NFL game week. TJ says Tomlin is a different breed. He absolutely is. Absolutely is. Dave, what's going on? He says 2027. Okay. False Start says, man, all those Pittsburgh fans live in Atlanta, believe. Oh, yeah. Oh, I'm sure. More transplants, more transplants, more transplants. Being born and raised here is one of the most frustrating things that you see as somebody who's born and raised. And again, I'm not here to cast out folks. A lot of young, you came here as kids. You might have come here. You came here for your job. Welcome into the A, but keep your opponent's uniform in your closet. As far as I'm concerned. Dave says, I'm not going to lie, Unc, I was embarrassed for those first few minutes where it seemed like the Steelers had no respect for what the Falcons had on the field. I hate it's a mentality. You just heard TJ talk about it. It's a mentality that Pittsburgh has. And a lot of teams have that we have to get. RJATL for life. Welcome into the lounge again, my brother. Appreciate you. What's up, Uncle Steve? Do you plan on doing a projected 53-man team before cuts begin? If I do anything, RJ, I might do it on Sunday. I'm not going to promise this Sunday might be kind of loaded. Next Sunday, I'll have a little bit more time to do that. However, I do know my buddies Smitty and Berto will probably be doing some things on the 95 North Sports Machine. So make sure if you don't watch here, make sure you go to their channels and give a subscription to them so you can get that update. Facebook user says, I feel like it showed we don't have to plug in depth, which hurts the aspect of closing games. I don't expect backups to blow out any starting team, obviously. But there seemed to be no real fight to stay on the field. On the fold of the game. We have to keep building on the depth. I agree. At some point, I don't even mind the decision from a standpoint of, oh, no, they're playing their starters. We have to play our starters. At some point, the depth is going to have to play first teamers. If you're somebody, last year, for example, D. Alford wasn't even on the roster last year. But he got a chance to get on here and went from the bench to starter by the end of the season. So at some point, your number is gonna get called. Somebody's gonna get dinged up, whether it's even for a couple of plays. So I don't mind backups getting their opportunities, but to look like they did yesterday, even against the number ones, man, you still got to show some fight. Millie's in the lounge. What's going on, Millie? Thanks for joining us. Tidy from Atlanta Bird Gang says, Steve, there is no head coach in the NFL that wants their players to get hurt, but they still play them in preseason. Why are we different? It's fair, and it makes you question the culture sometimes. Again, Terry has done a great job of ridding this team of all bad contracts, basically flipped the majority of the folks who were part of the Super Bowl era and has created their own little niche. Now, I will say this, Tidy. I'm willing to give them an opportunity starting game one to see if all of this even mattered. If you watch, we got a little bit of a smug Arthur Smith yesterday after the game. After, get a chance to get the guys out there, short press conference, not trying to. So it's almost like, okay, let's wait and see. So let's wait and see. Let's hope that whatever this philosophy they're doing is saying we only need 10, 11 plays out of three preseason games. Let's hope it pays off. I hope so. Seymour Brown is in the lounge. What's going on? See, I guess the philosophy is that it's a long season and we will work out the kinks in real time as the season progresses. As long as when you're working it out, you're getting W's, that's fine. Somebody mentioned this the other day, and they're absolutely right. Those first few games are usually kind of sloppy. All teams. It's rarely a team that comes out from the jump in the first couple of weeks and just looks like they're on nonstop. I think Philly was the closest last year, where Philly had the nice run at the beginning and really didn't have a lot of injuries, so they were able to, maintain that momentum all the way throughout. But there's a lot of sloppy play in the first couple of games, which you don't want to get caught up in if you're the Atlanta Falcons, is not being prepared. And according to Arthur Smith, he thinks the preparation that they've done in training camp, scrimmages, and the little sprinkling that we got last week in Cincinnati is enough. I hope it is too. I hope it is. The Dixon Way in the house. What's going on, Larry? Good to see you in the house. Y'all make sure y'all push the subscribe button for my brother Larry over there that does his live reaction videos of most Atlanta sports. He says, I wish Arthur Smith would have played the starters, but he valued health over possible chemistry with more reps. I don't disagree with that, but no panic. Okay, that's fair. This is Tidy. Tidy says Patrick Mahomes had 17 passing attempts in 2 games in preseason. Ritter has just 9 passing attempts in 3 preseason games. Interesting stats, I think. Somebody was talking about that earlier, and Andy Reid is one of those guys that says, oh, they gonna play. If the best player in the NFL, and I don't think it's an argument at this moment, if the best player in the NFL needs to go out there and lube some joints and get out there and get lubricated with his teammates and make that connection, it almost makes you wonder, like, what is Arthur Smith doing that makes him think you need less? I don't know, but we'll see. Oh, Terrence says, Trey Lance, I don't know. But if Desmond isn't the answer, do we bring in Malik? No. Do we bring in Malik Willis or maybe Trey Lance? Kyler Murray, maybe you try something there, but Desmond has to be the answer. I'm just thinking. No, and I hear you thinking ahead of time. I hope we don't have to answer that question, Terrence. I think I'd take a flyer. I would not take a flyer or Malik Willis. Possibly, I mean, like I said, Trey Lance would probably have to just fall into our lap. But again, you're talking about somebody that you're probably going to have to rethink and retinker what's been going on with him out there in Frisco, because Kyle definitely does a lot of things different than what Arthur Smith is doing. Kyler Murray, I mean, that's a big investment, folks. I'm not sure if I'm ready to invest like that. I would, if none of this works out at quarterback, y'all, even if we end up being mediocre, you do all you can do to go up there and get either Caleb, Drake May, or my man from Washington, who's everybody's sleeping on, Michael Penix. But again, I don't want everybody to say that's not what I'm saying today on August 25th. Not saying that. I'm saying if things go left. Larry says, Mike Tomlinson is a Hall of Fame coach that has continued winning culture of the Steelers. Absolutely. Rusty's in the lounge. What's going on, Rust? Said, just joined. What's the consensus? We nervous about last night or what as far as depth goes? On a side note, Arthur Smith keeps showing his stubbornness. Crazy that Mahomes played preseason and Dez is treated like he has a gold jacket already. Absolutely fair points. Absolutely fair. Millie says, the real question is how we feel about Arthur Smith if we have another losing season. If you ask me, then it's a whatever. What's more important is to hear those comments from Arthur Blank. I don't think it's going to be I don't think it's going to be a lot of patience if we don't do anything this year. I think Arthur Blank will make that move if he has to. Tony says, we haven't seen the starters since the Bengals, about 3 weeks. I mean, you say 3 weeks or just last week? It was last week, right? Terry Ward is in the lounge. What's going on, Terry? Thanks for joining us. Bag says, I don't think is as fans or the league is critiquing Ritter fairly. I think we're basing player off of college film compared to Lance and Fields. He won more games and had a better number. I always say for those who say that, there's always different ways to look at it. You can say Fields and well, not Lance. You could say Fields at least played, even his little sprinkle he played with Georgia, and mostly when he played with Ohio State, at least he played against more than likely a lot more players that he was going to see in the NFL than you would be talking about somebody like Desmond Ritter. It would be not wise to compare winning 90% of your games against the American Conference as opposed to winning 90 games playing against the Big Ten and the SEC. Does that mean the talent that you have individually won't work out? Not saying that. But when people blindly say, why is Ritter, his college record, not considered? I think a lot of people say, hey, look who he played in college. If you're going to bring college as one of your criteria. Sean's in the lounge. What's going on, Sean? How you doing, brother? Mike says Mahomes played a lot and he is great. Ritter isn't close. I shake my head. Oh, man. Chase is in the house. What's going on, Chase? Good to see you, brother. Say, I'm rocking with the kid until proven otherwise. Desmond number 9. And again, it's not an indictment against Desmond, Chase. It's really not. This is not the I Hate Desmond show, but it is just a little concerned about whether Desmond is getting the reps in real time that he needs prior to week 1. Now, Desmond goes out there week 1, goes 15 for 20, 215 yards, 2 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, and we win the game. We'll table that discussion for next week. But it's fair, Chase, when people don't see you, and what they don't see, they're left to, have different opinions about it. It's not a right or wrong answer, but that's kind of where they're coming from. For the record, I'm I'm an Atlanta Falcon fan. I gotta ride with Desmond. There is no choice right now. Desmond is our quarterback. We gotta rock with him. You gotta rock with him. Tony says, sorry, 3 weeks before we see the starters again. Great show. I appreciate you, TJ. Thanks for joining us in the lounge. Smart Ride is in here. What's going on, Smart Ride? Thanks for joining us in the lounge. Say quarterback. Steelers quarterback 1 played in all 3 games. 5 series, 7 for 14, 5 touchdowns. Both in the same draft class, both with questionable backups. Winners coming week 1. There it is. There you go. Larry says Trey Lance is Malik Willis. They both look great at smaller schools in college and haven't adjusted to the NFL speed. Trey Lance might be worse because Kyle Shanahan is the best place for a quarterback to succeed. And let's also throw this little caveat in there too, Larry. Let's not forget that the 2020-21 season, the COVID stuff that went on. Let's not pretend like that wasn't a factor in things. We saw Trey Lance for 1 game, I think, in college, and everybody was so impressed with his athleticism that he became as high as a pick that he did. But did we really see enough of him to, make that call? I don't know. Right now, I think you ride with who's been in camp, ride with who knows the playbook. That's how you have to go with this one right here, in my opinion. Miller says week 1 just needs to be domination from start to finish. It's the Panthers. We knew them, and they have a rookie quarterback as well to go feast on his behind. If we lost that, then I don't know how to feel this season. That first game is going to be more than any game in the last 3 years, because let's face it, folks, we all know that 21 and 22, we were still trying to feel our way through. Let's not pretend like our expectations in 21 and 22 were high. They weren't. So this year, with the influx of talent, man, if you don't come out here and at this point, I'll take a 1-point win against Carolina first week. Actually, I don't, because I put a bet on the game. They win by 3. But I want them to at least come out and show what they have. Chase says, totally understandable. I'm just throwing out my opinion. Man, please, man. Chase, you are the man, brother. As a matter of fact, dog, Chase, throw your show out here in the chat, man. Now, we all about opinions, Chase. You good. You good money, man. Y'all throw your YouTube channel, and I'm not even going to lie to you. I'm subscribed to it, but I need the title so I can spread the love. Man, you always welcome. Opinions are always welcome here. I'm not somebody that's obviously not going to cuss you out or demean you for having an opinion that might go different than anybody else. That's the wrong content creator you thinking here. That I know there are some. I'm not that. So if you want somebody that's going to listen and somebody that's going to just bounce ideas off, I think this is the place you be. Again, as y'all coming in, don't forget, hit the like button on the YouTube videos, and also those of you on Facebook, please hit the like on the Facebook video. Appreciate y'all. Thank you so much. 3:30 in the house. What's going on, my friend? Man, again, I just love chopping it up with you, man. Hopefully I get a chance to see you come down here again and say, well, Arthur Smith has rolled the dice. As he said, but your optimistic videos, you got the receipts, has reared his head. We have no choice now but to ride and rep the logo and trust the process. And that's basically what we were saying earlier. I mean, dude, there is no change in me. Whether this say ATL with this particular font, whether it says ATL with the old Falcons birds, whether it says the old uniforms, I'm riding ATL all the way. I still reserve the right to question what I see going on as far as what's going on within the team. We are stockholders, whether they're financially or emotionally, into this team. And for me to just all of a sudden say, well, I don't really care. That's not me. Let me run to my super chat in here. And again, I appreciate listen, and especially during the season, y'all, I'm not even going to lie to you, especially when we get to the point where these comments are going to start rolling. I'm really big on hearing what everyone says, but feel free if you want to donate to the channel through the super chat version. I really appreciate it. Again, I'm not here for begging for that. I'm here to do it for fun. But hey, if that can give your uncle an extra steak dinner for me and the wife, I appreciate it. My brother Greg is in the house. I appreciate you, brother. Thank you for the super chat. Say, what's up? Much love and support. Y'all make sure y'all check out Greg, man. I just got in touch with him again. Greg made some awesome custom shoes. And I'm going to tell you what, Greg, my son just wore my shoe. We wore the same shoe size. He just wore those shoes in a picture that he was trying to take the other day. I got to bring those shoes back down here. Maybe on Tuesday I'll get a chance to show you. Turned them around in about 5-6 days. So if you guys and gals want to get your shoes customized, please make sure y'all check out Greg at GQB Custom Kicks. You won't be disappointed at all. And thank you so much, brother. I appreciate you always supporting as usual. Chase says, I personally would have liked to see the starters for a driver's league. That makes two of us, brother. I would have loved to see that too. I would have loved to see that. Nando says Panthers won't be an easy win, but top 10 defense. Yeah, their defense, they got a couple of players, man. Derek Brown's still over there, and my boy Burns is still over there. So we got it. It's not gonna be a cakewalk. Larry says Andy is tied at Hall of Fame and knows what it takes to get his team ready. Playing your starters one possession would never happen with him or Tomlin. Shaking my head. If Arthur Smith doesn't win, he is gone. That's fair. Chase is in Dirty Fanatics United. Yes, that's that. So all of you on YouTube, if you get a chance, check out Dirty Fanatics United. Say appreciate the love. Check me out on Chase ATL on YouTube and X, Twitter. And we lit on the way to 1K. Absolutely. Y'all make sure y'all support Chase on his way in there. Dirty Fanatics United. Check them out. I know they put out some good content over there. I've had a chance to check them out a few times. Always supporting our fellow content creators across this YouTube universe. Appreciate you, brother. Billy Mills says, hold up, though. I like that. That he went south. Hold up, though. How many quarterbacks has Shanahan really developed? I can only think of Matt Ryan and Kirk Cousins, and I don't know about Matt. Here's the thing about Kirk, and I know a lot of people, understandably, have a lot of ire towards Kyle Shanahan. I get it. Kyle Shanahan is at least in the conversation. Oh, man. I know the big he's a choker thing. I know the big he made the wrong plays against New England in the Super Bowl. But, folks, he keep making his way to that NFC Championship game. He made his way to 3 of them since he left. And he did it with two different quarterbacks. And you could argue during the season he's had to mix and match to get there. This is not the Kyle Shanahan excuse thing, but I'm also saying, man, I just don't get it. I don't get the anti-Kyle thing. Because if I am a true believer that if Kyle Shanahan doesn't, shape up Matt in 2015, going into 16, if he doesn't shape him up, I'm not sure if we make a Super Bowl run. That's as honest as I can be about that. Do y'all actually think the way Matt Ryan was developing in 13, 14, he was going to end up being what he was in 16? Kyle Shanahan had to start from scratch. And remember, they were butting heads. But then all of a sudden, when Matt said, okay, we'll try it your way, best season ever, you can argue Kyle Shanahan probably got him his last contract off that year alone. So, I don't know. Just my thought. Pantera's in the house. What's going on? Say, hey, Unc. So many Falcon fans aren't old enough to remember the 70s and 80s days when ATL home games were blackouts and not on TV because games didn't sell out. Pantera is so funny. This morning, as I usually do in the mornings, I called my mom. And my mom is going to join us for the receipt show. So I called her this morning. Absolute true story. And we were talking about that exactly. Matter of fact, Pantera, you're at the age where you remember not only were they blacked out, there was no ESPN to see highlights. If the Falcons game didn't sell out at Fulton County Stadium and you weren't an elite game, the only highlights they had were on Howard Cosell on Monday night. He'd show the little halftime highlights, and it'd be usually 3 or 4 games. And because at that time, the dominant teams were the Rams, Steelers, Dallas, those were the major team, Miami. Those were the teams you were trying to see. They were trying to see at halftime. There was no full slate of highlights like Chris Berman does and get to see all the games. So, yeah, it's so funny. We were literally talking about that this morning. So I understand. Trust me. I'm right there with you. Absolutely. Bag says, I think Smith is thinking that his young talent can come out healthy and free of injury week 1 and ball. But it seems Smith is scared on competing and testing his starters. I mean, I can't even argue. Some people will say scared. Some people will say too afraid. I do understand how people can be a little apprehensive about, throwing them out there and the injuries. But somebody said it up earlier in the chat. Injuries can happen anytime. You can get injured. A matter of fact, the starters can come out there and do a walkthrough and unfortunately pull a muscle. What was the guy from Denver yesterday? Jerry Jeudy. Looks like he's going to be lost a great deal of the season yesterday in practice. So I don't know. Terrence says last year the problem wasn't the defense. I think the Chiefs and the Bills and Giants are the only teams that tied for the most one-possession games. I think Arthur knows he has to make the offense click. He better. And maybe you're at a point where you think, I got so much in my book, they not ready for me. If you have that much confidence, Arthur Smith, I can't wait to see how this is going to turn out week 1. But I tell you what, boy, we better not come out flat. Because if you come out flat, you're going to open yourself up for so much criticism. And he knows that. I mean, he's not an idiot. He realizes that. He realizes if this thing doesn't work out, man, I'm telling you. Winston says Shanahan developed RG3, Cousins, Garoppolo, and Purdy and got Matt to the MVP level. Take the Super Bowl emotions out of it. We can't say that man doesn't know how to develop a quarterback. Enough said. I don't know. Scooter's replying to us, say, agree. My only complaint is that they all got hurt except for Matt. Well, we can't help if they all get hurt. Now that might just happen. But at least they were all winning, which is, I think, a point. Drew says, if a fan is concerned about our second and third string losing to the Steelers starters, then someone needs to watch more football. Drew, the second and third stringers that you saw on the field yesterday are going to be the people that if Calais gets hurt for extended time, Grady gets hurt for extended time, Caden Ellis gets hurt for extended time, the secondary, as last year, gets hurt for extended time, you need to be worried about your depth. You can't just go start week 1 and say, oh, because our starters are all top-notch players, that who cares about what the depth is? It's kind of important. It really is. I think I'm reading you right. Yeah, you need to be. And you don't know. You'll need to watch more football. You might want to think about that situation long term, because depth is important. Terrence says, imagine Kyle here now with Desmond Ridder. All I'm saying is things would be different. We wouldn't question things like we do with Arthur Smith. I think he wants to be like the Tennessee Falcons. That's a fair point, Terrence. And people can be mad all they want to. Who would you rather have calling your team? And again, I know the failures of the Super Bowl. I know the failures of the championship game in 2 of the games against the Rams and last year. I realize that there is a swelling of hate for Kyle Shanahan, but I'll take Kyle Shanahan teaching this team more than it have been Arthur Smith, I think. But again, we have Arthur Smith. He's wearing the logo, so I'm all team Arthur right now. But you're right about the imagine. He said imagine. So Drew said if we won that game or even came close, then it would be the Steelers that could be concerned. And it's a fair point, Drew, but I think what you're – I'm trying to feel where you're going, but it's important for everybody to get some – reason why you want to do that, you want to see how your guys are going to look. It is important to see your starters too, but you want to see what your depth looks like. You do. Last year when AJ Terrell went out, we didn't know what to do. We went out and got the offer from what? Canadian League? We went out and got Cordell Armstrong. So what better way to at least evaluate some of the folks you have here now than to try to scratch your head and make some last-minute transactions in October? You need to see your depth. Bag says, if Ridder is at least middle of the pack, 11th, 18th ranked quarterback, will win the division and compete in the playoffs, in my personal opinion. That's actually pretty accurate. I think if he doesn't have to be top 5 or top 10 in this particular offense. All I need Desmond to do is not give the ball away. So, yeah. Drew says, big difference between third and starters in talent. At no point will you have all your starters out there to help second string and third string. Yeah, I hear what you're saying. I guess I'm probably not getting through, but I respect your opinion. I probably just disagree a little bit. It's all good. It's all good. Antonio says, who do you think will be a surprise cut this year? It wouldn't be surprising to see Jalen Hawkins gone. I like what I've seen out of Helms. And contrary to belief, we probably got one too many safeties. Abernathy has done some good stuff. Hawkins, Richie Grant. It wouldn't shock me if he was gone. I know he got run over yesterday. Not that that's going to be the thing that gets him out of here, but yeah. Mills says, so we can say it's really just his system, because once he left or they left his system, none of them was the same. Develop means he physically made them better quarterbacks. Fair. Dre in the lounge. What's going on, Dre? Good to see you, brother. Say, I'd rather have Arthur Smith calling plays over Kyle Shanahan. He's not as arrogant, and I enjoy the way he calls plays. Arthur Smith is playing chess, not checkers, in my opinion. And I respect what you're saying, Dre. One of the things we always talk about when we start comparing notes, and granted, Arthur hasn't had at the longevity that Kyle had, but him and Kyle were both offensive coordinators. Dre, in order to make the Super Bowl, you have to be in the tournament. And the one thing you can say about Kyle since he left, he's been in the tournament every year except one. And somehow you got to give John Lynch a little credit. They built that team pretty well. But Kyle Shanahan calls the fact that he's taken different quarterbacks at times, and he calls a decent game. But I hear you. I mean, you know, Arthur Smith to me has done okay, but there's nothing spectacular that I've seen from him in the past 2 years to make me say he's a better play caller than Kyle Shanahan. I just can't. If you can find something that shows me that, that's cool. But no disrespect, but absolutely disagree with that. Drew said, don't get me wrong, I wanted to watch our starters, but unfortunately that didn't happen. Yeah, I hear you. Yeah. I think everybody wanted to see the starters, Drew. I think overall, you're not going to find too many people that says sit the starters. I think you'll see the majority that say I would have at least liked to see them maybe another series like they did in the second game. You know. 330 said Arthur Smith gave the backups the ultimate test so he knows who he can keep and trust in the upcoming season to fill in. Fair. Drew says, I agree with Ritter, top 20. We good. Yep. I agree. Mike says, I call Smith the gambler. Betting on Ritter and sitting on the starters goes with his stash. His stash, look. Yeah, the mustache is interesting. I saw you shake it up a little bit. Again, it's interesting to see if he rolls through the year with that. Dre says Hawkins might be trade bait, which I'm not opposed. That's actually true. Because you probably could get, at least a later round pick for him, Dre. That wouldn't hurt my feelings. Stockpile the draft. Millie says Jimmy is still Jimmy. RG3 never got right again until Kurt still starting, but his future looking shaky. Matt was good without him, and Purdy not really proven nothing yet. But, okay, here's the thing. Millie, Matt was good without him. Matt arguably was the best quarterback in the NFL in 2016. And I know Brady had better stats, but he had the little 4-game suspension and all that stuff. Matt played better than any quarterback in 2016. So when you say Matt was good without him, you're absolutely right. Matt was great with him, though. Dre says, so Kyle can develop all quarterbacks except develop Trey Lance. No, I'm not saying that. Trey Lance, first you got to be healthy. Let's make sure you're healthy. He wasn't healthy last year. And then the year that he came in and he tried to throw him in there in the last 2 games, you showed that he needs work. Matter of fact, Dre, I'll akin the situation with Trey Lance. Remember, he came in for a couple of games at the end of 2021. And then 2022, you can't count that. He got hurt. He was going to be the starting quarterback. So, is that fair? That's no different than saying Kyle Pitts didn't play a lot of last year, so we give up on him. Well, through the eyes of how you see it, man. But I don't know. All I know is this. I know Kyle Shanahan's been in a lot more playoff games than we've been in the last 5 years. That's for sure. And the last time we actually did well in the playoffs, he was the offensive coordinator. So, I don't know. Maybe Arthur Smith will change my mind if he does. And I truly hope he does. I hope we don't even have to have the conversation about Kyle Shanahan. But I got to give a man his due. You got to give his man his due. Millie Miller says, Trey, exactly. Said Trey couldn't even beat out Mr. Irrelevant and Brock Purdy. He was hurt last year. Oh, you talking about this year? Purdy had a heads up, man. And let's put it this way. Let's not kid ourselves. Dre, if Purdy did what he did that last half of the season, and Trey Lance is hurt, and Purdy takes them to the NFC Championship game, a game that I think would have been competitive if Purdy didn't get hurt. So you mean to tell me the next year you're automatically going to say, well, we're just going to throw Trey Lance in here, and despite all the good stuff Purdy did once he got on the field, and we're just going to make this an open competition? Nah. You're not even that. Yeah, come on now. Come on, bro. You're not that naive. Purdy was going to be the quarterback on this team no matter what. I don't care if Trey Lance came out looking like, well, if he looked like Patrick Mahomes, they probably would have traded him. I think their whole goal this year was to trade Trey Lance. And I don't think they got any suitors. If you want to ask me truly about this, Dre, I think, just like we were listening to in the offseason, I think they were looking for someone to take Trey Lance off their hands. I know they had the injury to Purdy, but they knew Purdy was going to be back game one. They were trying to see if anybody would take a flyer on him. And nobody did. And smart for them. Because now you could probably get Trey Lance for a 5th round pick. But, I mean, I'm loving that y'all don't see the results that I see. I mean, again, I didn't even mean to turn this into a Kyle Shanahan show. I wanted to talk about the Falcons. So, you know. Winston says Lance hasn't been healthy since he was drafted. Each season he's gotten hurt, and that's why they're ready to move on from him. They have a cheaper, reliable option. It's true. Mills says, but it's no shade to Kyle. I respect him as a coach, but him being this quarterback whisperer or developer, I can't disagree. I can't agree with that part. When he also had good defenses most of his time in San Francisco. Yeah, but his offenses weren't sucking either. When he had the little triple head of Breida and Mostert and Tevin Coleman, nobody was talking about how great the defense was. The defense wasn't as great that first year they made the Super Bowl with Kansas City. They were good, but I would argue they were better last year. But, I mean, again, I hear you. Dre said the 49ers were looking for a sucker. Absolutely right. They sure were. And nobody bit. Nobody bit. Scooter says once Purdy went 8-1 bottom part of the season, it was his job. Absolutely. I don't care. Again, I don't care what would have happened with Trey. Trey could have come in the best shape of his career. Been all of that. Trey would have been on another team, and Frisco would have gotten good compensation. And to who was that said Winston's comment about them having a cheaper. Look, you're talking about Mr. Irrelevant. So you're talking about a 7th round pick salary. Kind of what the Falcons are doing with Ritter. Think about the advantage if Ritter turns out to be something. If Ritter turns out to be that quarterback, you're probably not going to have to pay him until the end of next year. Kind of like what Jalen Hurts did. If he has an okay year this year and develops next year, you don't even have to pay him. So that's something to think about too. Folks, it's 2:25, and I stayed on here about 25 minutes longer than I was supposed to, but I absolutely, positively appreciate all the love today in Uncle Steve's Lounge. We do this every Friday, 1 p.m., Friday brunch. Join us in here. Almost to the regular season, we'll do our normal picks here on Fridays going into the week. I hope everyone has enjoyed themselves. Please, on your way out, push the like button, whether you're on Facebook, whether you're on YouTube. Make sure y'all do that. And if you haven't subscribed, why not? Please subscribe to the channel. We look forward to seeing a lot of movement, a lot of things happening in the next couple of weeks. Thank you all so much for joining us. Appreciate y'all. Y'all take care of yourselves, and we'll see you soon. Peace. Rise up.